Before my rebirth, my arm was cut off by a factory machine. My parents reached a settlement with the factory manager and bought my life for 800,000 yuan. I refused to sign the consent form for the operation and was in so much pain that I died. He even called the matchmaker for the underworld marriage and wanted to sell my body to an old bachelor to be his wife in the underworld. My soul ascended into the air, and in the blink of an eye, I returned to the summer after the college entrance examination. My soul ascended into the air, and looking at my parents with calculating expressions on their faces, my father called the matchmaker for the underworld marriage, saying that you said that a fresh body can be sold at a good price. My daughter is still a virgin, and 200,000 yuan cannot be less. Their eyes were shining with gold, and they could not afford my body in vain. The entire forearm was shattered by the propeller of the machine. My mother took a look and said that I would disgust him once before I died. But I was clearly dying, the excruciating pain was almost suffocating me, and the doctor at my bedside asked them to sign again and again. But they and the factory manager raised the price from the original 500,000 to 800,000, and finally exhausted my last breath. Over the years, I have been filial to my parents and sponsor my younger brother, which seems like a joke. After a dizzy spell, I unexpectedly returned to the summer just after the college entrance examination. There were 2 pieces of paper in the bowl of garlic in front of me. My parents asked my brother and I to draw lots to decide who would go to college. Usually my parents asked me to give in to my brother, but that time they asked me as the elder sister to draw lots first. I sneered and opened the 2 pieces of paper. There were less than 2 words written on them. My parents were embarrassed and started to play the victim. The family could only afford 1 college student. My younger brother had enjoyed years of favoritism, but he didn't dare to say anything at this time, and just looked at me silently. I used to think that my brother and I were born of the same mother, but now I see that he is just hiding under the protection of my parents and sucking my blood together. I have a student loan now, I must go to school, and you can raise your son yourself. My brother is only 1 year younger than me, and he stood in front of my parents saying, "Sister, you can't talk to your parents like this." I asked him in return, "You are so filial, why don't you stay at home with your parents?" He blushed and couldn't say a word. I was admitted to a 985 university, but my brother was only admitted to a private 3rd-tier university. My major was computer engineering, while my brother studied Chinese language and literature. My parents don't know what computers are. They just think that my brother will be a big shot with a pen in the future and can bring honor to the family. In that era, if you studied computer science and caught up with the internet boom, you could almost get the first pot of gold from the internet. In my previous life, I was plotted by my parents and went to work in a factory as an assembly line worker. Most of my monthly salary had to be paid to my younger brother as living expenses. On the other hand, the girl who was admitted to the university with me in the same village successfully stayed in the big city, overcame all difficulties and became a senior white-collar worker, and became the girl that everyone in the village envied. But I worked night shifts day and night doing the most unskilled job, even though I had a higher score and could go to a better school. I don't want to repeat the same mistakes in my life again. My father beat me with a belt and chased me around the village, scolding me for being a money loser who dared to disobey my parents. I fled to the village head's house with the notice, and the old village head protected me behind him. He said it was not easy for a village to have a college student, not to mention that Huazhong University of Science and Technology is a very good school. Lao Chao, don't be ignorant. Dad can't listen to his family, so naturally he can't do without his brother's exaggeration. My younger brother boasted about his college to the sky. When he talked about my school, he was always silent. When my parents asked him, he said he didn't know much. I only know that it is difficult for girls to find jobs after studying computer science, so my father looked at the village chief suspiciously. "Village chief, don't lie to me, my child said it's difficult to find a job after graduating from this school." The village chief stared at his brother who was a little guilty not far away, and said, "Bullshit, you and your wife have no education, and you only do some immoral things that will ruin your child's future. 2 college students in a family, how many people envy, but they can't envy them. Su Yun School is the best among the college students admitted in the village this year." My father rubbed his hands awkwardly. "Is this girl's school really that good?" The village chief glanced at him. "Now the country has policies and you can study even if you are poor. In any case, you can't let your children give up studying." The village chief patted my shoulder and left my notice at his house. "Leave the notice with me so that no one can figure it out and tear up your notice again, which will affect your registration. I will take you to ask about the student loan tomorrow." I nodded, and my father and I walked out of the village head's house together. As soon as I left, he looked at me and asked if that University of Science and Technology was really that good. "You can make a lot of money after graduation. Your mother and I didn't raise you in vain." I laughed and said that everyone told you that school was good, but you didn't believe it. You only believed your son. Dad glanced at me. How could he not understand the little thoughts in his brother's heart? He still looked at me fiercely. Your brother is still young, and you as a sister don't know how to give in to your brother. Then you can get a student loan and find a way to pay for living expenses. The family can only afford one college student. Mom was surprised that Dad let me go to school. He frowned and asked Didi, can I go to school? We can't afford the second part of Qingyun's tuition and living expenses, Dad said coldly. The village chief asked him to get a student loan and let him find a way to pay for his living expenses. It's already ours to allow him to go to school, and he still wants money after giving him a favor. As for my younger brother, he sat next to me while my parents went back to the house and asked, do you think your parents are biased towards boys? But I am indeed a boy and my parents love me. I will also be the one who can lead the Chow family to move forward in the future. You will get married sooner or later, so why bother going to college? Go to work early and help your family with living expenses. I can write you an IOU and pay you back when I get a job in the future. I was so angry that I laughed. Su Cheng, then you must take good care of your loving parents in the future. After going to college smoothly, I didn't hit you. Even if I return to this home, I am not unaware of my parents' favoritism. My younger brother can live in the county middle school, but I can only study in the town. My parents are unwilling to do so, so they pay me 50 yuan a month for accommodation and make me walk 20 miles to and from school every day on the mountain road. They say that girls should be hardworking, sensible and love their parents. They never say this to my younger brother. I am the first in the town middle school, and my younger brother ranks 300th in the county middle school. Even if he improves by 2 points, my parents will kill a chicken for him and give him 100 yuan to celebrate. They never praise me, saying that the education in the town cannot compare with that in the county, and that if we really take the college entrance examination, it is still unclear who will win. After the college entrance examination, I am among the top few in the county, and my parents will only say that I am lucky, and even blame me behind my back. I was involved in my brother's student movement. It's not that they don't know that I'm smart and work hard, they just don't want to admit it. It's their daughter who is outstanding. I looked up at the stars in the sky. The stars in the countryside are always particularly charming. I have also been on the top of the mountain many times, looking at the endless starry sky, imagining that I can dominate my destiny and go see the outside world. From the age of 18 to 25, my best years were spent in the factory, the assembly line. The workers were paid by piecework. I could only work harder to get more. And then I gave some money to my brother for living expenses and mother for household expenses, and then I could save a little money for myself. On the day of the accident, it was my father who ran to the factory to tell me that my brother was going to marry the only daughter of a big city, and they wanted me to marry a lame middle-aged man in the neighboring village. They said they could give me 200,000 yuan as a betrothal gift. I was distracted at work and my arm was caught in the working machine. I witnessed with my own eyes how my parents raised the price of my life to 800,000 yuan, and how they commented that my body was very fresh and that a ghost marriage could be sold at a good price. I don't want to be involved with such a family at all. Su Cheng was still nagging in my ear, saying that I had become unlike his sister in the past few days. I turned my head to look at him and asked him what kind of sister you want? A sister who has no regrets and gives all her resources to you? He hung his head and asked, Sister, why don't you believe that I will treat you well after graduation? People from Su Cheng can only rely on themselves at any time. We looked at each other in silence and went into our respective rooms. The little yellow dog in the yard leaned against me and said it was me. The room was just a short bed in the kitchen, with dark walls and dim lights. It was the mark of my youth. I really thought that my efforts would be rewarded, but later I understood that only by paying for yourself can you see the reward. The wind outside was gradually rising, and I vaguely heard the voices of my parents in my ears. He was dark-skinned, and there probably wouldn't be many good men who would want him to marry now. When he really graduated from college, the betrothal gift could be increased. How come our son earned it all? My eyelashes trembled, and I tried not to let the tears fall. The next morning, the village chief came to pick me up on his bicycle. He smiled at me lovingly. I sat on the back seat of his bicycle. He said, You must study hard and don't come back in the future. I didn't say anything, and the village chief said to himself, My daughter, when my son registered your household registration, your parents originally wanted you to call him brother. My daughter changed the name of brother to D for you. Su Yuan, go far away if you have the chance, the farther the better. Here, sooner or later you will be swallowed up by your parents without leaving any bones. Thank you, village chief. The student loan can only be approved with the signature of your parents. My parents were shocked when they heard it. They were afraid that I would not be able to pay it back in the future, and would have to burden them with paying the debt. They insisted that I kneel down and swear, and sign the agreement in the presence of the whole village before they were willing to help me sign. I knelt on the hard stone slab, and my brother sneered at the side. Su Yuan, look at you, it's so troublesome to go to school, even if you are from a 985 university, so what? My father held a loudspeaker and called all the villagers to the stage at the entrance of the village. He shouted that he wanted all the villagers to witness it, and their eyes were fixed on me. My back felt like a hole had been burned in my body, leaving me feeling ashamed and in pain, until a few old ladies angrily scolded Lao Chao. Don't be such a piece of shit. If you don't send Didi to school, can't our entire village send a student to a good university? My father held a loudspeaker and shouted, It's a blessing from me that my daughter can go to school. You want me to get into debt too? I didn't want to because my daughter would get married in the future, and I couldn't give money to other people's families for nothing. My mother naturally knew that it was embarrassing, but she didn't dare to say anything to her husband, so she could only vent her anger on me. She looked down at me and twisted my ear, saying, Isn't it embarrassing? Is it embarrassing? If you had come in honestly, how could our family be so embarrassed? A few old ladies pulled my mother away. Everyone was watching this farce. The sweat on my back soaked my clothes and sticky beads of sweat hung on my temples. My dear parents kept scolding me. The heat wave rushed on my body like a scalding rope, strangling my neck so that I couldn't breathe. Aunt Lu helped my daughter up and told her to go to school well. Aunt Shui and Uncle Shui also stood in front of me, blocking my parents' resentful eyes. Our Jinshui village has finally escaped poverty in the past few years, and there are not many college students who can pass the exam. Old Xiao, there are so many unscrupulous people in the world who plotted against their daughters, and they will get their comeuppance in the end. My father spat and said, "It's not your family's money that is spent on feelings." The village chief brought a few people over, led by the village chief's daughter. She took the loudspeaker from my father and said, "Now the country has policies and books are a must. To continue studying, local enterprises in our county have scholarships for students who are admitted to 985 universities, and Su Yun can go to school with peace of mind." Hearing this, my tears suddenly burst out, as if the throat of fate that was strangled was suddenly loosened, and I was finally able to breathe. After hearing this, my parents pushed through the crowd and asked the village chief's daughter what she meant. A big boss gave Su Yun Tao tuition, so could the share given to him be given directly to his younger brother? His younger brother is also a college student. Let Su Yun earn his own share, and his mother and I can feel more relaxed. Everyone was shocked by my parents' shameless behavior. The old village chief looked at my parents and suddenly sneered. Su Yun is not an animal but a living person. Since you don't want to recognize him, he doesn't have to recognize you. From now on, she is the daughter of Jinshui village and can no longer be considered a member of your Chao family. When my parents heard this, the village chief meant that we don't have to give him a penny in the future. After hearing this, Aunt Lu rushed up and pulled my father's clothes. The 4 old people of Chao are living faces and trees living bark. We are fellow villagers. I didn't bother to care about your family's trivial matters in the past. If you let your useless son ride on your daughter's head again, I will never let you go. My mother suddenly sneered. Zhang Zihua, you have never given birth to a son in your life. What are you doing here today? I think you are jealous that I have a son. Aunt Lu and my mother wrestled with each other, and the village chief asked someone to pull them apart. The village chief turned his eyes to me. There is another room in the yard of Suyun Village Committee. You can live there. You're noticed before going to school, as well as all the companies I had to take the scholarships myself. I nodded, but my mother glared at me fiercely. Everyone dispersed. Several old ladies pulled me to go home to pack my things. I didn't have much stuff. My clothes for spring, summer, autumn and winter were all school uniforms. In summer I wore short sleeves, in spring and autumn I wore long sleeves, and in winter I had a cotton padded jacket. In winter I could wear short sleeves as an inner garment. Fortunately, there were 2 sets of school uniforms for each season, which could be worn alternately. I remember that in my previous life I was in a factory and saw a post where someone asked why silk clothes were not allowed in middle schools. Most of the comments below were criticizing that our middle school students did not have their own style, and that middle schools were too strict and made students lose their imagination. To be honest, I am very grateful for the existence of school uniforms. If there were no school uniforms, I don't know how I would have survived. In the hot summer and cold winter, because I didn't have enough silk clothes to change, my parents would not pay for my clothes. In their eyes, as long as I could work and not starve to death, it would be fine. Aunt Lu and Aunt Shui looked at me with tears in their eyes and asked, "Are these all the clothes you have?" I nodded. My mother mocked me at the door, saying, "Where is the money for her to dress up? Besides, she looks so dark and thin like a matchstick. Nothing looks good on her." Aunt Shui had sharp eyes, and she glanced at the Nike sneakers on Su Cheng's feet. "Bullshit, your son looks like a landmine and you still bought him that pair of hook shoes. My daughter told me that those shoes cost hundreds of dollars." My mother sneered. "You know it's a son too. Chui Gaimei, you are the same as Zhang Zihua. You have never given birth to a son in your life. Of course you don't understand. For those of us who have sons, what's the point of spending money on girls every day? They are raised by other families and will get married sooner or later. My son studies in the county town, and his classmates all have those. How can we let our son be looked down upon?" Aunt Lu was too lazy to argue with him. She just threw my clothes away, grabbed my hand and went out. "And I'll buy you some nice clothes. How can you still wear school uniforms when you go to college? I'm red-eyed and have caused you trouble." Aunt Shui also patted my shoulder, shouting, "Don't look back. If there is a new way out, you must work hard to make your way out." Aunt Wang and Aunt Li behind me also echoed. Aunt Shui couldn't bear to see me living alone in a small house of the village committee before school started, so she let me live in her house. The small room was clean and bright. Aunt Shui, my uncle, was also very friendly. Compared to the pitch-black kitchen in my house, this place was much better. The lights were no longer dim. The bright incandescent lamps seemed to illuminate my originally dull life. Aunt Shui found her daughter's old clothes for me. Aunt Lu also came to accompany me in the evening. The kind-hearted Aunt Wang and Aunt Li also brought a lot of clothes for changing. We sat on the Kong and looked at the starry sky outside. Aunt Shui suddenly said, "Do you know why I am called Chui Gaimei? Because my parents wanted a son, so they named me Gaimei, hoping that the next one would be a boy." Aunt Wang laughed at herself and said that I was called Wang Xiaodi because my parents wanted to have a younger brother. Aunt Lu crossed her legs and cursed that since ancient times, we women would be scolded if we couldn't give birth to a son. She said that we had a strong personality and would be scolded. True, if you have a weak character, everyone will bully you. No matter what a woman does, people will talk about her. I gave birth to my 2 daughters, and his grandmother has been poking my spine all my life. Now my 2 daughters are working and settling down in the provincial capital. His grandmother came to curry favor with a few other aunts with eager eyes. We chatted for a long time before looking at me. The entrepreneur scholarship is for paying tuition. You are a girl with a strong character. You must work and study and make money by yourself. We think this is right and can train you, but you are a student and don't have to suffer so much. There are too many hardships in this world and you can't bear them all. We discussed it, and although we don't have much money, for people can still raise 600 yuan a month for your living expenses. I choked up. I can't have it. Aunt Lu wiped my tears. You kid, you must grab the chance to change your destiny. How many people want to take the exam but can't? Not to mention your two sisters agree. Many people say that we rural people are poor and unruly. Some people think that we rural people are cunning. Many people who hurt others have no conscience. But Su Yuan, at any time while protecting yourself, you must believe that there are still many good people in this world. We rural people are not all those bad-hearted people in their eyes. I cried loudly, as if all the grievances over the years have found an outlet. My parents who gave birth to me and raised me said that I was worthless and a money loser. They used me in the last life, and they wanted to sell my body to squeeze out the last bit of my value. But in this world, there are people who are willing to help people who are not related to them. In the past, I stood on the top of the mountain and looked up at the stars countless times, hoping to find a way out in my life, but unexpectedly, the stars had already given me the gift of life. The kind and honest people in the village lifted me up with their hands to see the direction and the way out. Aunt Shui hugged me, and they all laughed at the four of us for being chickens that don't lay eggs, saying that we are not destined to have sons and cannot enjoy the blessing of descendants. We have experienced the taste of favoring sons over daughters when we were young. When we grew up, we hurt our own girls one after another and we had to suffer retribution. I said righteously, for aunts, I will repay you in the future. They looked at each other and smiled. Su Yun went to see faraway places for us. Studying hard is better than anything else. You have to prove that girls from our rural areas can also read books. And I don't talk about repaying. If you don't repay, some gossips will definitely talk behind your back. We are betting on your future. Can we get some glory from it? Child, just try your best. I burst into tears and sobbed for a long time before falling asleep. Aunt Lu was waving a palm leaf fan for me. The cool breeze was blowing. The sky outside was full of stars. My future seemed to be bright. The daughter of the village chief brought entrepreneurs to the village to express their condolences. In addition to me, 2 other students also received funding. My parents were standing outside the crowd, looking at me and my brother with gnashing teeth, staring expressionlessly at the check in my hand, for aunts protected me and didn't let them get close. On the way to send the entrepreneur away, my parents stood under the old tree at the entrance of the village viciously, spitting at them and not caring about their own parents. You still expect to benefit from him, I tell you. She will still get married after graduating from college, and the betrothal money will still come from our Chow family. After hearing this, Aunt Wang rushed up angrily and kicked my sarcastic father over. You old beast, maybe you and your wife won't live to see him get married. Wait for your own son to hold you up and cry at your grave. My dad was kicked so hard that he couldn't stand up. My mom couldn't beat the 4 aunties at all, and she underestimated their fighting ability. My mom knelt on the ground and cried, Su Yun, you are a heartless thing. I am your biological mother, and you just watch others beat your biological mother. This time I squatted in front of her and stroked her hair. You are not worthy of being a mother. You are also a woman. In order to rely on a lazy and greedy man who can't make money and has a bad temper, you have trampled on the self-esteem of your daughter, who is also a woman, countless times. If you say that my dad is feudal and disgusting, then you are even more disgusting because you know very well that it is not easy for rural girls to go to school and live, but you still do it again and again. You are squeezing the value out of me. You are using your daughter's blood and tears to flatter your husband and son, as if this will make you look like a sensible and decent woman. Emperor Sun Zhao, you are not worthy of being my mother. I was surrounded by 4 aunts and left. My mother's cries came one after another, and my father's curses resounded through the sky. They always perform dramatically, as if such absurd dramas can make their peaceful lives suddenly become prosperous. From a middle-aged couple that no one cares about to big stars that everyone has to take a look at. Only in this way can they find their own sense of existence. I have mentioned to my mother many times that as a woman, the difficulty of being a child, I longed to pick up my books and return to school after my younger brother finished his studies and started working. His sharp laughter filled the whole yard, and he threw the tattered rag in my face, spewing harsh words from his throat. You are still studying? You are about to get married at your age, why are you studying? If your younger brother hadn't gotten married yet, how much money you would need would be unknown. I would have let you get married long ago. You still want to study? Look in the mirror, you have the body and life of a maid, stop daydreaming. Whenever he scolded me with vicious words, his face would always turn red and his neck would become thick. His passion would be high like a fighting rooster, as if he were going to all the unhappiness in life was vented on me. Sometimes I felt that he had learned how to stab people without any instruction. I felt sorry for his difficulties as a woman, but he did not understand. In his eyes, women were like livestock. Under his numb face, only his son's every move could attract his attention. The days in Jinshui village were more warm because of the village chief, for aunts and other kind folks. Before leaving, the villagers sent me to the village entrance to wait for the bus. They gave me many things, including fruits picked by Uncle Li, walnuts sent by Uncle Qian, and daily necessities brought to me by the aunt in the canteen. When I was a child, often I didn't have enough to eat, so they would secretly take me to their homes for dinner without my mother's knowledge. They felt sorry for me walking up the mountain road to school and wanted to help me pay for my accommodation. But in the end my mother snatched the money away and bought new clothes for my younger brother. My eyes were blurred with tears. I stepped onto the bus and waved to them through the window. Without exception, they put some change in the bags. They gave me some 50 yuan and some 20 yuan. The total amount of money was 732 yuan. The bus went a long way, and they became small black shadows outside the window. They were still standing there. My eyes were blurred with tears again. Just like the village chief said, I was no longer the daughter of the Chow family, but the daughter of Jinshui village. My daughter took a bus from the village to the county, and then took another bus to the city to take a train. It was a day later when she arrived at school. There were more boys than girls in the class, a total of 40 people and only 8 girls. There was a dormitory for every 4 people. Except for me, all the other girls in the dormitory were city girls. They came from big cities in the north and south, and their Mandarin was much better than mine. The pitiful self-esteem in my bones made me a little cautious, but unexpectedly, they were all very nice to me. After I told them that I was admitted from the countryside, they gave me a thumbs up. According to your local educational resources, you are really lucky to be able to be admitted here. It was great. The 4 of us became inseparable friends. They would protect my little sensitivity and would order more rice every time they got food, using the excuse that they couldn't eat so much and insisted that we all eat together. They said that they loved the vegetarian dishes on my plate the most and would exchange chicken legs and stir-fried pork with me. They would also stand up for me when someone laughed at my substandard Mandarin during the first class meeting when we introduced ourselves. Most of the people in the class were from cities, and they didn't believe that I had to walk up the mountain to school every day in middle school, and they insisted that I produce evidence. People from the next-door dormitory also said that I was a country bumpkin and a pretentious bastard. Some boys even raised their hands to show their support in the compulsory English class. Teacher Su-Yun's oral English is the best in our class. My roommates always argued with them in front of me. Chan Qing said that the students who were admitted from the countryside and the students from the best middle school in your city were admitted to the same school and even became classmates. Who do you think is better? Cici said that it's okay if his oral English is not good. Su-Yun practices hard every day, and he is always improving. He is no better than those of you who slacked off as soon as you entered the university. One said that as girls you discriminate against female classmates behind their backs. We respect your likes and dislikes, but you are not qualified to judge whether a person is good or bad. Everyone wants to be a judge, but you look at people with tinted glasses. You shout every day to resist school bullying. But what each of you does is disgusting and sanctimonious. They are speechless, but there are also people shouting coward behind their backs. You just dare to hide behind others. I stand in front of my friends with a firm look in my eyes. It took me tens of thousands of times the effort to get here and to stand in front of you. I didn't do anything, but you laughed at and insulted me with tinted glasses, as if you saw from me, a person born in the countryside, that the joke can live up to your stereotype of rural girls that you have been holding for more than 10 years, that they are ugly and humble and have never seen the world. On the other hand, I can show your pride. In the final analysis, I don't know who is more pitiful. After all, high-quality education can also cultivate a group of scum. My words left them speechless and blocked their words of rebuttal. My friends walked out of the classroom and hugged me tightly. So-Yun, you are very good, really very good. I will devote myself to college life. I understand the internet boom and the future development path of vocational education. The industry has ups and downs, but if I can seize the opportunity, maybe I can take the initiative. I was born and raised in the countryside. Under the internet boom, I must combine helping farmers to realize my dream. But this is not something that can be achieved overnight. Academic qualifications, vision and platform are all indispensable. In the era when everyone was still using Nokia, as a person who lived a second life, I knew the rise of the internet and the leap of 3C digital future. 4 college students graduating from computer science, it was about to enter a frenzy of gold rush. I studied hard, worked part-time in the library, and started to try projects on campus with Chang Qingwenwen and Cici in my spare time. We built a communication webpage with various schools as the main body. When the website was first launched, there were only a few registered users. We planned a national voting for school beauties and school hunks, etc. The gimmicky event successfully attracted the first batch of seed users. The advertising income changed our lives. I no longer had to live a tight life and no longer had to rely on 4 aunties to help me with my tuition. But the aunties didn't listen to me and thought I was just being stubborn. They still transferred the money on time every month. I never touched the card again and returned it to them at the right time. Later, a big company wanted to acquire me, but Chanqing and Cici were unwilling to sell our website. After I told them that we were just taking advantage of the fact that the internet was not yet developed enough and the research of mobile phone manufacturers was not in depth enough, and that one day mobile phones would have more memory and web pages would no longer be popular, and converted into one clickable icon after another on the mobile phone. At that time our website had only one dead end. It was better to sell it at a high price and find another long-term path. When I said this, my tone was firm. One laughed at the side. Su-Yun, you seem to be glowing when you said this. Cici and Chanqing no longer insisted. They also laughed at Su-Yun. The classes I attended at the business school were not in vain. We believed in you. Therefore, in 2005, we sold the school network we built to a larger internet technology company for $1.8 million. $1.8 million became the first pot of gold for the 4 of us. In 2006, we graduated from university. Knowing the history of the giant companies, I deliberately avoided most of the business competition. I didn't touch the fields they targeted. Instead, I took a different approach and started a business they looked down upon. Most companies were doing B when talk and the business model of merchants facing consumers directly were emerging. We started to do C2C and the business model of consumers facing consumers, secondhand products and transfer models. Our secondhand website gradually gained its own reputation because of the platform inspection and consumer mutual guarantee. When others followed suit to enter this field to share the pie, the 4 of us had already started the business transformation, gradually abandoning low-price goods and switching to secondhand, luxury car transactions and car rentals. In most cities across the country we have car dealerships that we cooperate with, And we have cultivated a large number of car bloggers and have our own brand effect on Weibo. Around 2010, smartphones began to rise, and we kept up with the development of Android and iOS. To complete, I launched the first car rental app in China and invested part of the funds in commercial real estate in first-tier cities. The four of us also bought our own house in Shanghai. I smiled and said to my friends that in the next 10 years, our house may increase 10 times. Do you believe it? They shook their heads and said they didn't believe it. The company was running in an orderly manner. Gradually got rid of the shadow of my original rural sensitivity and inferiority. But perhaps fate has ups and downs. After I began to frequently pick up 4 aunts to live in Shanghai, and gave the daughter of the village chief a sum of money every year as a study fund for poor students in Jinshui village, my parents found me after making inquiries. The villagers didn't know about my career outside, and I never publicized it. But they found me accurately in my office in Shanghai, and rolled into my office with a tantrum, crying and complaining about how you are an unfilial daughter, raising Zhang Xuehua and Shui Gaimei as your own mothers for so many years, and not caring about the life and death of your own parents. Now that you are living a good life, you just abandon your parents in the countryside to fend for themselves. After I started my business, I knew that this day would come sooner or later, so I told my own story in the early days of the company. The company's employees and my sisters all knew what kind of scoundrels my parents were. When my parents saw that people around them were indifferent, they stopped and just lay in front of me. On their desk, your brother wants to go abroad, you give him money. I sneered. You love him so much, pay for it yourself. Seeing that I was not moved by her soft words, my mother pulled me to come home with me. We will find a good marriage for you, and the betrothal money will be used for your brother to go abroad. Their minds were a mess. The only thing that could make them clear was the motto they held in their hearts. Sons. That's them. I asked the security guard to marry them off. Su Chong appeared in front of the company. He shouted, "Sister, you have become successful now, so you don't recognize your relatives." He raised a camera and scolded me loudly. "Do you believe that I will expose you? Who will dare to cooperate with you then? If we don't live well, you can forget about living well. You are just a woman. Why do you live a more decent and better life than me? You are from the Chow family. Your money is our Chow family's money. This company also has a share of our Chow family. So Yun, you owe me this." I stared at the red-faced and thick-necked man in front of me. "Su Chong, you are in the blue sky, rising to the blue sky, Duong blue sky, and I was just born. Your good parents wanted me to call Chow Di brother Duong Di. What do you think I owe you? Should I be the piece of mud that is different from the sky, the mud that you step on?" They were taken away by the security guards. My colleagues in the company came to comfort me. Cece and others persuaded me for a long time in the office until I repeatedly said that my heart was harder than steel. I was called Shengnan because my parents wanted me to be better than boys in everything. My mother lost her fertility after giving birth to me. Although I am an only child in many people's eyes, I know my mother and family would rather have a son. Although I have never suffered any hardship, I understand this feeling. If I had a younger brother, my life might not be as good as it is now. I stood by the window looking at the hustle and bustle of traffic downstairs. Our lives will get better and better. The next day, the incident of my parents and younger brother causing a scene in the company was reported by some newspapers in the South, and even a wave of public opinion was set off on Weibo. Some people accused me of not recognizing my success after my career. Parents, some people said that I was hypocritical and a sophisticated egoist. Cyberbullying and human flesh search, all kinds of information came in. The village chief, for aunts and other people spontaneously helped me record a clarification video. I also recounted the years when I grew up in the mountain village on my personal account. Public opinion immediately changed, but some people were still shouting, "After all, they were your parents, you can't do that anyway." I was too lazy to respond to these stupid remarks on the internet. Su Chong did not give up on getting some money out of me. He waited for me at the gate of my community day after day, asking me for money. Under the scorching sun, he didn't feel hot and waited for a long time. All day, he finally got the chance and waited for me. I looked at the boy in front of me, who had the same facial features as me. At this moment, his face was full of a look of wanting to eat me. He grabbed my wrist viciously, with scarlet eyes rising because of anger. "Su Yuan, you are a big boss now, why can't you help me? Help me, Su Chong. If your sister is just an ordinary female worker in the factory, have you ever thought about what you would do?" He was stunned by my question. He stared at me and said that your parents said that you should not be allowed to study. You have become stupid and don't recognize your relatives. If you are just an ordinary female worker in a factory, your parents will decide for you. Find a good family and use your betrothal money to help me realize my dream. I sneered at Su Chong. Don't attribute your failure in life to my failure to help you. As soon as I finished speaking, Aunt Lu and the others came out of the community to pick me up. They protected me like a chicken and pointed at Su Chong. "Stay away from Shouty." Su Chong sneered at Su Yun. "You don't care about your own parents but treat them as your relatives. They are not childless, so is it your turn to be filial to them?" At this moment I was like an angry little lion. I grabbed Su Cheng's collar and slapped him hard. "They are my relatives. They gave me food when I was young. It was they who cared about me after they grew up, and it was they who saved money together every month for my living expenses. Not everyone is as utilitarian as you. We should repay favors." The 4 aunts and I returned home, and it was just like the summer night after the college entrance examination. We lay on the same bed. I leaned on Aunt Chui's shoulder. She smelled like soap. "Aunt Lu, Shouty, don't worry, we will take good care of you." In fact, when I first set up the company, I invited the daughters of the 4 aunts to work in the company, but they refused. They said that once they were in the same company, the friendship of so many years would be tainted with other things. In any case, they didn't. I can personally destroy the relationship between their mother and me. Once human greed is formed, the more things one wants, the better the relationship will deteriorate. The aunties and sisters also said that they hope I will not be tied to a high shelf by morality. The next morning, the 4 aunties disappeared, and the luggage was gone. On the dining table was a prepared breakfast and a note. The note said, "Didi, don't worry, we will protect you. We will go home first." I called Aunt Lou. The noisy voice was mixed with my parents' scolding and my brother's rage. "Didi, don't worry, we will take them back to the village. We will not cause you any trouble. We will not let you suffer any grievances again." The phone suddenly there were screams and shouts of people running around. The phone was hung up. I was panicking like never before. Until Aunt Shui called me and said Aunt Lou was stabbed by Su Chang and was now in the ambulance. I drove to the hospital. The 3 aunts were still in shock, and the police were asking some questions. Su Chang went crazy, took a fruit knife and stabbed Sui Hua 3 times. The train hadn't started yet. He ran away. Aunt Lou had lost a lot of blood, and it took a long time to rescue her. Aunt Lou's 2 daughters also rushed over from other provinces, and Su Chang was quickly captured. As for my parents, they just came to beg me, hoping that I could spend money to find someone to get Su Chang out. Wake up, intentional injury, and even stabbing 3 times is already a crime of intentional injury. A train is a public place, how could they injure someone? When will you wake up? Later, I don't know where they consulted a lawyer from, and they insisted that Aunt Lou sign a letter of apology, so I drove her out. After Aunt Lou woke up, the first thing she did was to confirm whether I was the full-time protector. She pulled me. "I was afraid that your brother would run to your house and go crazy. It was all our fault that we overestimated our own abilities." Aunt Shui, Aunt Wang, and Aunt Li also hung their heads, like children who had done something wrong. I tried my best to keep my tone calm, but I still couldn't control my tears, which dripped onto Aunt Lou's drip on the back of my hand. "You will be my mother from now on." Aunt Lou's hand trembled. Some people in the same ward sneered and found it touching. "Is it that serious?" Aunt Wang curled her lips at the man and said, "It's none of your business. Call me whatever you want. You are just a mouthful. No wonder you are sick." The man fell silent. Aunt Lou patted my hands and motioned me to go back to work. I looked at them and said, "I will go back with you. I haven't told you before that our work to help farmers has also been launched." "Aunt Li helps farmers, does she?" I nodded. Sister Lin Na, the daughter of the old village chief, is now a relevant cadre in our poverty alleviation. All my work has taken root and developed based on the internet. But even if the business model is very creative, it still has to be combined with the entity, otherwise it will be like a floating cloud and will be blown away sooner or later. We have sugarcane, ancient brown sugar workshops, tea mountains and other fruits. We have all the products we need. What we lack is fast logistics and warehousing, as well as sales channels. This time I am going to do this. Moreover, live streaming is also beginning to rise slowly. The first to lay out will have the advantage. Aunt Wang is first. Jinshui village has so many bad memories of you. Why do you want to go back? I shook my head. If it weren't for you, the old village chief, and other kind-hearted villagers, I'm afraid I would have been frozen to death or starved to death when I was a child, let alone like this. I am lucky to go to college because you gave me a hand. I will help the whole Jinshui village if I have the ability. I want to ensure that girls in Jinshui village and even in more places can go to school, have enough food and clothes, live in spacious dormitories and study without worries. I want them to change their destiny. Aunt Lou stayed in the hospital for a month and was discharged. I have almost explained the company's affairs. I Chanqing, Cici and Wenwen are at the crossroads of choice again. This time they still support me without hesitation. We sold the company's used luxury car rental and most of the online car hailing business to other companies. We took out part of the funds were used to establish a women's education fund, which only provides financial assistance for women of appropriate age to continue their studies. Chanqing returned to the Northeast to discuss the online distribution authorization of Northeast rice. Cici and Wenwen are committed to promoting Chinese traditional culture, so they began to go to the people and explore those traditional products that are worth promoting, such as Suzhou embroidery full of heritage, flower fans with unique features, and new clothing with national trends. I returned to Jinshui village with 4 aunts. Sister Lin wanted me to live in a guest house in the city, but I shook my head. Sister Lin, I grew up in Jinshui village. Even if my parents treated me badly, I cannot deny the kindness of other people. My nightmare did not come from the countryside, but from the countryside. It comes from the family, so why bother? Gai Mijong. Sister Lin Na smiled. You are a girl who is back from the big city. You are eloquent. I smiled. Sister Lin Na, I have always wanted to thank you. Thank me for what the old village chief told me that year. It was you who registered my household registration. Thank you for taking the risk of my parents being scoundrels and making a fuss, and changing my name to Su Yun instead of my brother's D. I still returned to Jinshui village. The villagers were very curious about my arrival. I haven't come back to visit for so many years, only occasionally taking a few villagers who have been kind to me and taking them out to sea. Sister Lin Na said in front of the stage in the village, there are several girls in our village. The fund for going to school was Su Yunchu's money. This time he came back to really help us develop. He insisted that I say a few words in front of the stage. I suddenly remembered the summer many years ago, when I knelt in front of the stone slab in front of the stage. It was the villagers here who protected me behind them and maintained my crumbling self-esteem, and the soul that was about to be broken. Over the years I have been looking for the wind of development of the times and rising against the wind, accumulating resources, just for today at the most appropriate time, when everything is ready to return here and lead everyone to a better tomorrow. I know that there must be a distinction between people in this world. Those who have been to college must have those who have not, and those who are in the city must have those in the countryside. But I think that at least everyone should be given a chance to choose. I stood in front of the stage. The old village chief was sitting in a rocking chair under the stage. Four mothers were looking at me eagerly on the stools, and Uncle Lee and Uncle Chen were smiling at me gently under the stage. I didn't come back to show off, but to give more children in our Jinshui village the opportunity to choose. Many years ago, right here, my four mothers protected my self-respect. The old village chief did justice for me, and other villagers also protected me and didn't let my parents bully me. To be honest, in these years when I was outside, I was also looked down upon because of my rural identity. People said I was a bad person with many schemes. They labeled us rural people. I can't deny the existence of bad people, nor can I deny that poor mountains and bad waters produce bad people. This statement is not right. That's why we have to develop ourselves, go out and see the outside world, let the children go to school, and tell people outside that rural people are not only those on TV and people's impressions. After I achieved some success, no one laughed at me for being a rural person. I brought sales channels and negotiated logistics and warehousing. This time I will be your guide. There was applause from the audience and some people sneered. However, these people are not within the scope of my agricultural assistance. I am familiar with the issue of rice grudges. Sister Lynn and I talked about the initial ideas, brand promotion, packaging design, product timeliness, and food processing plants, etc. After talking about work, it was late, and the old village chief kept me here. During the meal, after taking a sip of wine, he suddenly asked me, "Why did you return to Jinshui village when I told you that if you have a way out in the future, don't go back to your parents' den of tigers and wolves?" I said that when I set out for college, many villagers came to give me food, drinks and daily necessities, and prepared a lot for me. Each family put some change in the bag they gave me. A total of 732 yuan. We were not related, so they didn't have to do that, but they still did it. For me at that time, I will never forget this kindness. The village chief nodded. "Good child, good. My child, Aunt Shui came to pick me up and took me home. She held my hand and walked me along the country road. First you have to think carefully. Human nature is hard to guess. If you start a business in Jinshui village, your heart is good, but no one will necessarily appreciate it. Don't worry, Mom." As soon as I finished speaking, my mother came out from somewhere. She was disheveled and wanted to grab me. "You are rich now and you recognize someone else as your mother. Su Yun, you crawled out of my belly." Aunt Shui and I went home, and my mother followed me like a ghost until Uncle Shui drove her out. During those months, we took advantage of the short video and live broadcasts gradually became popular, and the name of Jinshui village's agricultural products was promoted. After the villagers tasted the sweetness, everyone responded and was particularly motivated. The large number of car bloggers we intentionally cultivated in the past had already transformed after the rise of short videos and live broadcasts. Under my intentional guidance, we arranged 99 luxury cars to be parked at the gate of Jinshui village, using this as a gimmick, combining car bloggers with agricultural assistance, and truly promoted the name of Jinshui village. The internet is full of news about Jinshui village. Several a blogger I am familiar with joked, "Sometimes we all doubt that Sister D, you are a time traveler, you always hit the right spot every time and even predict the future. If you hadn't told us to develop Weibo, we wouldn't be able to get started. Later you told us about short videos and live broadcasts and I found that you really made me laugh. Maybe I really was a time traveler. No one knows. In my previous life I was in a factory, and the factory girls spent their free time watching videos on their phones. I have seen the power of short videos and live broadcasts in a few years, and I understand better that helping farmers the necessity of being linked with live streaming. After many brand joint promotion events, we maintained the popularity and established the agricultural assistance program. In addition to Jinshui village, other places that needed our platform promotion also gradually found us. Chongqing promoted Northeast rice to the world in Northeast China. Wenwen and Cici worked in Jiangsu and Zhejiang. Our company's national trend clothing is selling very well, and our agricultural assistance program has become the most popular platform. Most families in the village have embarked on the road to wealth. The small workshop of ancient brown sugar has already had investors, and has become the top 3 in sales on the e-commerce platform. The oranges sold by members of Jinshui village are sold all over the country. The handmade window grills of Aunt Wang and Aunt Shui have become works of art, and sales are rising. By the way, they have led to the original paper cutting design of several other women in neighboring villages. Aunt Lu's handmade steamed buns are made in different styles. I opened a short video account for her to teach people how to make steamed buns. The number of fans exceeded 500,000 in a single month. Aunt Lee loves cooking and is good at seasonings. She established her own brand, Aunt Lee's Dipping Sauce and Dry Ingredients, which quickly occupied the seasoning market. Our business is developing in full swing, and everyone is working hard to live out their own life. After the brand of Jinshui village was on the right track, Jinshui Fund was officially launched. Jinshui Fund will be committed to solving the problem of poor rural female students having difficulty in going to school. The middle school where I used to go to school has built a new free dormitory building. As long as the children living nearby can live in the school for free, no children will have to walk on mountain roads to go to school anymore. We have more and more products and the demand for recruitment is getting bigger and bigger. We will classify our products into different categories and create jobs for more women if conditions permit. For example, for maternal and child products, we will unconditionally open application channels for Bauma because they have taken care of children and understand the market for maternal and child products better. That day, an old fortune teller saw me and said that the fire luck in Jazili is coming, and Zaiweixing is also coming. This era is good for women, and you are one of them for sexual development. I didn't come to my senses until he walked away. Chongqing and I smiled at each other and said in unison that there are thousands of Zaiweixing around us, which are all the awakened women. I heard that Suching on the day she came out, my mother fainted in the hospital due to excessive excitement and was still in a coma. Before the cause of the disease was found out, my father had already called the matchmaker for ghost marriages. This call was heard by Su Cheng. In the past, I only thought that my brother and I were brothers from the same mother, but now I think he is just hiding under the protection of my parents and sucking my blood together. If Jin Xiong does not treat my mother's illness, she can make money by selling his body and let Su Cheng start over. This time Su Cheng did not let it go. He just stared at my father and said coldly, "If you dare not give me mom is ill, then I won't acknowledge you as her father. Your daughter has already denied you. Do you still want me to deny you too?" My dad was so scared that he didn't dare to speak. All this was just gossip in the village. My mom woke up later, and Su Cheng took them away from the village. Before leaving, Su Cheng came to find me and said to me, "Sister, I'm sorry for having wronged you all these years. During these days in prison I figured it out. It was me and my parents who lost face. You don't have to worry about supporting them in the future." My mom also tried to find me to ease the relationship, but I turned her away. She cried and said sorry, saying that she was not a human being before, but it's too late, isn't it? She was just lying in bed afraid of death. And then she woke up when she heard that her husband wanted to sell her. She used to regard her husband and son as her faith, and she can only find her dignity and authority as a human being from me, her daughter. The harm done to me in the past cannot be healed by time. I can choose to let it go, but I can never choose to forgive, and no one is qualified to persuade me to forgive. On the 3rd anniversary of the Agricultural Assistance Program, the number of people watching the live broadcast exceeded 1 million. It was still the stage, the same group of people, and me. There were young children who were admitted to university standing on the stage. Now no one in Jinshui village can't afford to go to university. I stood in front of the stage as I did back then, but the roles were swapped. I became the person who awarded scholarships to the children. I looked at the young girls on and off the stage. No matter where you are, don't forget to move forward. There may be noble people lighting your way ahead, but you can only rely on yourself to go on, and go on unswervingly. When you are poor you must think of change. Some things have to be done by someone. The starlight of Jinshui village is getting brighter and brighter, and it will continue to shine. The end.